Hello! Welcome to the 34th edition of the American Sunlight News and Literature Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about our admirers and detractors from our own vantage point, but also the vantage point of the critics, as they say in media world. Now, some of the critics are actually our friends, so we will take a nuanced view of the landscape, so to speak. In keeping with ASLNL's unwavering commitment to transparency, not out of some quaint sense of Marquis de Queensberry fairness, but because honesty is our foundation, we're sharing a glimpse of how one of our opponent's favorite media outlets responded. Particularly to President Earlie Breck White's recent affirmation of her growing leadership role within the Party of Commons, also known as the Revived Citizens Party. This particular publication, which we won't dignify by naming, offered a snide, New Yorker-style affront that dripped with sarcasm. It's the kind of dismissive tone that reveals more about their cynicism than about Earlie herself. But contrast is clarifying. So alongside that bitter little aside, we're also sharing the voices of those who see Earlie's leadership for what it truly is. Bold, principled, and deeply rooted in service. These more favorable responses, especially the self-styled National Review-like opinion, reflect the growing recognition of her role as a transformative figure in our movement.
Hello. This is Abigail Kensley McKinley-Jarvis from the Generation Jumpstart Club, in waiting. You just heard the introduction from the head administrator of our club, Tara Sam. Only in my role as an American Sunlight News narrator, I will read to you the snarky, nasty response to Earlie White's, our dynamic and bold president of the Party of Commons, affirmation of our party's renewal. So, this is in light of Earlie's openness to critiques of her leadership. Quote, the intoxicating aroma of absolute power, served neat without a twist of accountability. The editor of the Party of Commons has issued what can only be described as a manifesto of managerial absolutism, cloaked in the language of civic virtue. Officers, we're told, are not to question the throne, lest they be cast into the outer darkness of irrelevance. Dissent, apparently, is not a feature of democracy but a fireable offense. One might have hoped that a party named for Commons would embrace, common governance. Instead, we're treated to a soliloquy of control that would make even the most seasoned autocrat blush. The failure to gather signatures for the Federal Way petition is waved away with the elegance of a magician's misdirection. Look over there at the past, not here at the present. And then there's the AI-generated imagery, which adds a surrealist flourish to the whole affair. Nothing says grassroots populism quite like algorithmic art and unilateral decrees. If this is the future of civic engagement, one wonders whether the Commons refers not to shared power, but to the commoners expected to applaud from the sidelines. Unquote.
This is Clementine Brown, a member of the Generation Jumpstart Club, in waiting. As one of our 4 narrators for the 34th edition of the American Sunlight News and Literature Podcast, I want to tell you a little bit about the title of this episode, which is Alabaster. This episode takes its name from a symbolic gem and a subtle nod to our esteemed leader, Earlie White. Alabaster is more than a clever play on her surname, it embodies the spirit of our movement. Like the stone itself, we aim to be a vessel of new beginnings, sculpted from the enduring traditions that shaped our past. Alabaster has long been revered for its purity, its quiet strength, and its role in sacred art. Qualities we aspire to reflect in our party and our club. As we look ahead, we do so with reverence for where we've come from and clarity about where we're going. Our hope is to help guide the nation toward a deeper, more profound future, one that honors legacy while embracing transformation. So, here is another account from the critics, but this one, at least, is somewhat even-handed. They are situated in Bellevue, Washington, and style themselves as an Atlantic magazine-type publication. I quote, "Leadership, as history reminds us, is often a paradox, the need for decisive control balanced against the imperative of collective trust." In the editor's statement from the Party of Commons, we see this tension laid bare. There is a clear assertion of authority, one that seeks to streamline decision-making and avoid the entropy of endless debate. Yet in doing so, the party risks alienating the very voices that give civic movements their moral and democratic legitimacy. The dismissal of dissent as disloyalty evokes a troubling echo of movements that began with idealism but faltered under the weight of centralized control. Still, the editor's candor is striking. There is no obfuscation, no bureaucratic hedging, just a direct acknowledgement of past failures and a commitment to future action. That kind of transparency, even when uncomfortable, is rare. The invocation of civic awareness and athleticism as guiding values is intriguing, suggesting a vision of citizenship that is both engaged and embodied. And while the use of AI-generated imagery may raise eyebrows, it also signals a willingness to experiment with new forms of political expression. Ultimately, the Party of Commons stands at a crossroads, between the efficiency of singular leadership and the richness of shared governance. Whether it can reconcile these forces will determine not just its internal cohesion, but its relevance in the broader civic landscape. Unquote.
This is Tara Sam again, and this finishes out part 1 of Alabaster. My younger sister, Drew Sam, of the Generation Jumpstart Club in Waiting, will be the narrator for part 2, so make sure you see that one, too. This is the 34th edition of the American Sunlight News and Literature Podcast, signing out. Strength, honor, and nation.